Hello, pod people, duck hunt, and welcome to the IGN UK Podcast. My name is Chris Tilley, and I am here with Daniel.
Hello.
And Gav.
Hello.
And today we're going to talk about 2015 and the very best movies that we saw. Some of the disappointments. We'll look ahead briefly to 2016.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about some genre stuff that we saw, including our favourite horrors and spy movies and this and that.
Yeah.
But we're going to kick off by we're going to go around the table and pick a favourite. So, Gav, do you want to do the first one?
Okay, yeah. I think top of my list, got to be Whiplash. I don't think I've experienced anything like that for a while in the cinema. And it was just such a small story, but done in an amazing way. Just like this battle between like two massive characters. And it's just really, really hard to watch in places. But I think like some of the best action scenes of the year are the drumming scenes, especially the scene right at the end. I thought that was just absolutely bonkers. But just like a really, really good sort of like character study as well, because you go on this like really small journey, but at the same time a really, really good journey with these two characters. It's probably over the top, but I just really, really enjoyed it.
I think that's the best thing about it is those two central performances, two huge performances like J.K. Simmons and also Miles Teller, who had very limited drumming experience before making that movie and went into an intensive regime to basically play this preternaturally gifted kid who's like one of the best drummers in America.
Yeah.
And in the movie, he does feel like he is. Yeah. After a very short amount of training.
He's really good.
I wish I could get that good at something in a small amount of time.
Love story between two guys?
Yeah, I think so, in a way.
That's a reading that you could... That's a queer reading you could put on it.
Yeah. I mean, I think... Just that bit at the. Are we going to talk about spoilers or?
Yeah.
But there's a bit.
I think we should say in general for the whole podcast. It's very hard to talk about these movies without going in. We're not going to go out of our way to spoil surprises, but they might just come out.
Yeah, I think the turn in right to the end where J.K. Simmons, like, you think he's really screwed him over. Well, he has screwed him over. He's got him on stage in front of all these people to play. And he's given him the wrong sheets and got him to come out and play the wrong music. But then Miles Teller goes out of his way to actually do a really, really good job. It does this bonkers solo. And just the turning point between these two characters where they absolutely, like they hate each other, then they kind of like each other, and then they have a respect for each other, and then they absolutely hate each other in front of everyone. And just through the sort of respect for drumming, they like each other again. I don't know, like that kind of turn where J.K. Simmons is kind of back on his side and actually realizes, hang on, this dude is really, really good at drumming here, and kind of like has a little bit more respect for him. Then they start going back into it, and he actually starts conducting him again. I don't know. For me, that was one of my favorite bits of anything I saw.
I also think it's spawned one of the best catchphrases of the year. Not to reduce it to a catchphrase, it's an Oscar-winning film. Did it win any Oscars?
J.K. Simmons won. Yeah.
Not My Tempo.
Yeah, not quite My Tempo.
No, it was cool because it was a drama shot and played like a thriller.
Yeah.
Which made it so interesting that you could create that much tension from a film about drumming. It was so unexpected, wasn't it? Yeah.
Really good.
Maybe my favourite film of the year as well. Yeah. Obviously, some of these films came out in the States last year.
Right, okay, yeah. So we should say as well, we're going just based on
2015
UK release dates as well.
And so, we're each picking 5. So, Dan, do you want to have your first?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a similar kind of like nuanced, performance-driven movie in the form of Jurassic World.
Well, Indominus Rex did deliver quite the performance.
Yeah, I thought the original, considering the original T-Rex, not many roles for old women in Hollywood.
Yeah,
and there's the T-Rex coming back. Yeah. So on this podcast, if you've listened to it before, I've always professed my love for Jurassic Park, and it's one of the great action blockbusters.
You're literally wearing a Jurassic World T-shirt.
Yeah, well.
Not to give anything. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Obviously, so. Love Jurassic Park. I think it's one of the great blockbusters. Sequels ain't so great, and I think that will be a problem for the series going forward. But I thought they came back. Colin Trevorrow only really directed Safety Not Guaranteed. I thought they just made a movie that was a lot of fun, and it kind of, obviously nowhere close to the original, but it got close because the time had passed in real world terms. They could have effectively, the movie does the first film again, but with much higher stakes and goes a bit crazy. So it's still a story of mad scientists. Yeah. It's still a story of it's also now a story of almost kind of passing comment on the blockbuster itself, because there's a line saying we still need to get these audiences in every year through the gates. What do we do? Let's just mix it up and give them something new. And that's kind of what the movie is as well. So it's kind of having fun with that. I think Chris Pratt's a really good lead in it. it obviously is not without flaws, but I thought it was really fun, and I thought it could have been a bit of a disaster.
Yeah.
I think there's already a sequel confirmed. It is currently the highest grossing film of the year, which I don't think I predicted as much as I thought it'd do well.
No.
And they already have a sequel penciled in for 22nd of June 2018. Now, I do think they'll stumble where to go next. 'Cause I just don't know how you do that again. I think it was almost really lucky that they could do so closely ape the form of the original.
Yeah.
What set up next? Pursuing like the militarized dinosaurs. I don't think that's that intriguing or exciting.
Yeah, I saw it in the cinema, and I have in the cinema. I thought it was brilliant. I came out having a really, really good laugh. I watched it again on DVD. I don't think I like it.
But I would argue that's what it is. It's a summer blockbuster movie you see in the cinema, and you like it. And I don't, Jurassic Park is the exception. Like, it's a movie that's brilliant, and it's one of those special blockbusters.
Definitely, yeah.
I've seen it a couple of times. I still enjoy it. I think it's got some really fun sequences. Not all of it holds together.
Yeah.
I think the bad guys are particularly weak.
I think just the thing that we've talked about a lot of the time, I think the thing that absolutely wrecks it for me is just the way that they have Claire and Chris Pratt like character, like the way that there's just that one bit, horrible bit where she saves Chris Pratt from the pterodactyl, and 2 seconds later the little kids are like, their hero is Chris Pratt, and it's like, you've just watched her save him. Why isn't she your hero? Why is he your hero?
It's the line that's a bum
does my
line
head
in the
in.
movie.
Yeah. But it was good in the cinema.
And what was your favourite sequence in it?
I think my favourite sequence is... It's actually what I like about it is also it's quite scary. Because when I saw Jurassic Park for the first time when I was 7, I remember hiding my eyes 3 times, like just turning to my mum. Because it was like, don't want to see it, but kind of want to see it, so I have one eye open. And then there's several of those moments in it, especially with the Mosasaurus.
Yeah.
But I think the best sequence is when she summons the T-Rex, because they keep it back as a secret weapon. And then to see the T-Rex come out, the same T-Rex, and get the John Williams score. It's a pretty cool moment for what is my favourite film.
Good,
Yeah. Cool. I'm going to kick off with a film that came out in the States in 2014 and didn't get here till about April, but it's John Wick, which is... That just kind of came out of nowhere. I saw the very first screening of that anywhere in the world, which was at Fantastic Fest, and Keanu Reeves was there with the directors, and really had no expectations for it apart from liking the trailer and knowing it was about a guy killing people because they'd killed his dog, which sounded like a setup that could be brilliant or terrible.
Yeah.
And it turns out it was brilliant. Like, I just thought that pushed every button I needed an action film like that to push. It was made by people who kind of get it. They get the ridiculousness of Keanu Reeves and the situation that they're putting up on screen, but yet they don't. It's kind of gently tongue-in-cheek, but you could read it either way. You could take it seriously, or you could just kind of laugh at it, but they're kind of laughing with you throughout the film. And they're stunt coordinators, the directors and writers, they're stunt coordinators who work with Keanu right back on The Matrix, and they've spent a lot of time trying to develop a film with him. They know exactly what he's capable of. They know what makes him look cool on screen, like the way he uses his body. And I just felt like it all worked together just to make a film that was really, really good fun, horribly violent. But also set up a really cool mythology, like the hotel and the people that come and go there.
Because what I like about it is like the central premise is very low concept.
Yeah.
Revenge.
Yeah.
But they put him in a world that actually has more about it than you initially suspect. There's just, like you say, the mythology of the hotel and the rules and the regulations.
Based on Greek mythology, actually, all that is as well. So it's one of those films where I walked out of it and my immediate thought was, A, I want to see that again now, and B, I need a sequel to that tomorrow. And that rarely happens, that I want to turn around and watch a film again.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you guys like that one?
Yeah, I like
see it. That's the one on this list I haven't seen.
If nothing else, I like it because it gave me the phrase gun fu.
Gun fu.
No, those sequences are brilliant. And you're right, like, he gets some fairly slagged off, I think, Keanu Reeves. But one of the great things he has as an actor is his body and his discipline to like rehearsal. Like, if you watch any of the Matrix making of documentaries, he had so many kind of routines to learn, and the amount of commitment he has as an actor to do that sort of stuff well is great. And I think John Wick shows it off yet again.
I think the less you give him to say, the better he is.
He looks awesome.
He's got this presence, and like he can walk away from an explosion really well.
Yeah.
But when you see the film, that
Yeah.
happens all the time in the film, and you're just thinking, yeah, man, that's really cool.
He's a badass.
When I
Yeah.
see scenes in movies where someone walks away from the explosion,
Yeah.
I get really stressed out because I feel like if it was me, obviously I'd just turn around and go, oh, what the and that was
be
really
looking
shot.
at it,
They wouldn't be
yeah.
able to reset it. In Spectre, there's an absolutely ridiculous one where everything blows up
Yeah.
in Blofeld's base.
Oh, right, yeah.
And it looks like they did it practically, and it looked like they were in front of it. It's like, what if you sneezed? What if Daniel Craig sneezed at that moment? Go, can't reset that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Dunno.
I just get stressed out watching that.
Cool. On to your second choice, Gav.
I'm going to go Ex Machina. As again, this is the film I think was pretty much in all of our top 10s that we whittled down to 5. And it's just a really, really good sort of like a close film, like 3 people basically in it, about just like basically it's like 2 different people on different kinds of like wavelengths. One, Oscar Isaac, like, you know, another Star Wars person as well as Donald Gleason. Just like Donald Gleason wins a competition, has to go to this like almost like a Bond villain's like lair, and Oscar Isaac's been messing around with AI. It's just introduces him to the AI sort of robot that he's made, and I think like I didn't really know what to expect going into it, but it's, you know, it's a really, really good sort of just really quiet drama, and just like puts these characters in a really, really sort of like claustrophobic like situation with each other, and yeah, like you come out of it kind of. It's a really nasty film, I think, towards the end. Like you go along with them because it's just those people on screen, because you go along with them for this amount of time. It's kind of hard to watch by the end, but yeah, I just really, really liked it. But
Bloody intense film.
it's really intense, yeah. But it does have one of the best scenes of the year as well, which is Oscar Isaac dancing, which I just think is fantastic.
So we had our Alex Garland in earlier in the
Yeah.
year to talk about the movie, didn't we, Chris? He's a really smart guy, and it's cool to see him being given the director's chair and be able to make a really smart movie.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel like it was that diluted.
Yeah, we had him on the podcast, and like we talked about it afterwards. It was a really funny podcast because it seemed like, I don't know, he was agreeing but also disagreeing with every single thing that you guys said.
He likes the way that you word a question.
Delightfully spiky is how one commenter put it, and I would agree. But
I would say it's less delightful when you're impaled upon said spike.
It was really funny to watch though, because
are you talking about when you talked about Star Wars? That didn't go well.
But there was also like
None of it went well. No.
like I was like watching it from the gallery, and there's so many bits where like Chris was just absolutely like agreeing with him, and then he would just go, well, no, actually, and then just like start this like almost like half argument. It was brilliant to watch. You should
It was
definitely go
like
there.
Ex Machina. You go back and watch it.
He's awesome though. We
Yeah.
are big fans, and it just won at the British Independent Film Awards. It won like director and film.
Yeah.
What I liked about it is the first time I watched it, I was kind of unsure of who the villain was and who the hero was, and Oscar Isaac seemed like the bad guy, and then then the stuff that she does at the end made me think, oh, I'm not sure about her, and then watch the film a second time, I'm like, oh, actually, it's Donald Gleason I'm not really liking this time. Like Oscar Isaac's spoken the truth all the way through, and actually she's the hero of this piece. Like she's the victim. Not Donald Gleason, and it was really good the way it really made me think.
Yeah,
and it sparked
clean in that movie.
it sparked quite a few conversations with people afterwards, and that's really, really good writing. Like it's multi-layered, and so many of those conversations you read one way the first time you watch it, and then read a different way the second time. So I like a film like that kind of rewards multiple viewings.
Well, it's a really, really good like mystery thriller as well, because like there's so much weird stuff going on, and all the time you're thinking, is it like what Donald Gleason seeing? You think, is he seeing that on purpose? Like, is Oscar Isaac like sort of baiting him the entire way? And like, because another couple of times, like the sort of he thinks he's seeing things that he shouldn't be seeing. But I think when you watch it again, you think, oh no, Oscar Isaac's controlling every single step of the way, from like the moment he steps in through the door, or pretty much before that. Like he has complete control over Donald Gleason. It's like really, really good to watch. I really like that.
Cool. Dan, your next choice?
Yeah, I think the next one I'll go for another one of the biggies is Ant-Man.
Okay.
So we cover a lot of the Marvel movies week to week here at IGN, and I felt like this one is the one that lots of people thought was going to be a bit of a flop.
Yeah.
Mainly because of its troubled production history. So this movie's been floating about for a long time. I was reading just before coming in to do this podcast. At one point, Howard Stern's tried to buy the rights to it.
Really?
Yeah, way back. So Cornish and Wright came on in 2003, and they were working on it for a long, long time. And Kevin Feige kept saying, it's getting close. We're going to be going to production soon. Finally, this year, they said they were going to go in production on August 18, 2014. But on May 23rd, Marvel and Wright parted ways. So there's this like crazy succession of events where Adam McKay came on board on May 30th. Director hired on June 7th. They rewrote the script, Adam McKay with Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
And they still made that August 18th shoot date. And, that's not a good way to go into a film, you would think.
No.
And, people don't know why Wright left. The suggestions that he didn't want to incorporate elements like you have to do in a lot of these Marvel movies to kind of join them up with the wider universe.
Yeah.
And the movie came out, and it was the second lowest opening debut of a Marvel movie after Incredible Hulk, but it was still a number one movie.
Yeah.
Like, you can't ignore that. It's still a number one movie. It's 12th successive number one movie for Marvel. Yeah. That's nothing to be sniffed at.
Yeah.
And I just think the story is really cool because it's gone on to take it's taken over $500 million. It's quite cool. I looked it up. In terms of domestic US box office, it beat San Andreas, The Good Dinosaur, Mad Max, and 50 Shades of Grey. And I think to cap it off, what is kind of how it's done really well is on October they announced that it's going to get its own sequel.
Yeah.
Which I think beginning of the year, no one would have really tipped that as happening.
No.
So I think it's, and also it's like a focus on the movie itself rather than the like stuff surrounding it.
Yeah.
We went to see it and I thought it was so much fun.
It's really good fun, yeah.
I thought it was like refreshingly small scale after the Avengers, where the Avengers tried to like work in groundwork for Black Panther. This pretty much just focused on a new set of characters. It was really funny, smartly directed, had a really good pace.
Yeah.
And just really interesting action sequences as well. I love seeing a hero fight a villain inside a briefcase.
Yeah.
While they press the phone and that triggers the music for the scene. That's really cool. I've not seen that before. So I really loved Ant-Man.
Yeah, it was really good. I think, like, for me, Avengers Age of Ultron was a bit of a letdown. I was kind of just a bit bored with that. And I think a lot of people kind of are starting to feel that way now. It's just like all the films seem like they're doing the same thing. But this, like, completely looks different. Like, it feels different. Just, I think, a couple of the scenes, the Michael Pena scenes where he's relaying like information and it's all like matched up, like synced up with their lips. I think it's just amazing.
He's definitely one of the best supporting characters of the year.
Yeah, he
really steals every scene he's in. And I think they set up loads of cool stuff about fathers and their daughters. There's a giant ant running around like a dog.
Yeah.
There's Thomas the Tank Engine crashing through a window. Like, there's lots of cool, interesting stuff in that movie.
Yeah, I felt sadder when Anthony died than I did when anything has happened in other Marvel films.
And I thought Michael Douglas is a great addition to the Marvel universe,
Oh,
playing
yeah,
a
he's
really
brilliant,
like bad-tempered Hank Pym.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great to see him joining the Avengers.
Yeah.
Ant-Man. Like, I think Paul Rudd interacting with those guys is going to be really good. It's a really fun thing to watch.
Yeah. I think because his sort of the way that he talks and his sort of comedy is a lot different to the Avengers stuff. Like, I don't find him that smug to watch, whereas like Robert Downey Jr., he's like super confident, and that's where his comedy comes from.
Yeah,
whereas Paul Rudd's not like that.
He could be a really good foil for the how grandiose these movies are going to be.
Yeah,
So you can just cut through it all as being like this, like almost a proxy for the audience, because he's kind of, oh my god, you're Captain America, and he's kind of starstruck by the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's a really good kind of way of just like interrupting the tone.
Yeah, well, like one of the funniest like moments I think in any Marvel film is the Hawkeye line in Age of Ultron, which is what this is like when he's like, "Look, this is happening, none of it makes sense. We just kind of go with it."
Yeah, I'm just a man with a bow, and none of this makes sense.
Yeah, and I kind of think like Paul Rudd can kind of be like that. Like he can sort of cut through the stuff that is absolutely ridiculous about like Avengers and stuff like that. And you can be like, "This is properly bonkers," and almost be like the voice of the audience sort of thing. That's what I kind of liked about him. Yeah, good,
cool. Let's talk about horror.
Okay.
Something that's close to all of our hearts. My favourite horror movie of the year was a little scene film, got a limited release, Housebound, a New Zealand horror film that very much combines comedy with horror and quite a lot of heart, actually. It's actually quite a sweet film when you get into the sort of the final third.
Yeah.
But it's violent and it's scary the first time you watch it, where you don't really know what's going on. And it's on Netflix. I don't want to say too much about it. I just think people should go and check it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give the setup. It's about a girl she's a 20-something and she's a bit of a chav, really. she's a problem woman. She's got drink problem, drugs problem. She's thieving, and she gets arrested at the very beginning of the film. Gets put under house arrest. Doesn't get along with her mother. So there's some tension there, and then there's something. It feels like there's something in the basement, or the house is haunted, and she starts investigating, and then quite a lot happens. Like it throws you off the scent a couple of times.
Yeah.
It's quite twisty-turny. I thought it was really smartly plotted. It did scare me in the first half, and then I just think it gets really interesting and funny and quite violent as well. There's a couple you just saw it, didn't you, Gav?
I saw it on the weekend. Yeah.
There's a couple like quite shocking couple of bits at the end of bloody violence.
Yeah. There's one particular scene is one of the creepiest things I've seen this year, and like I probably had a little bit of a nightmare about it. 'Cause it just like really gave me chills. But it's good because it kind of like it uses really good like haunted house tropes, but at the same time like because anyone who's going home for Christmas, like I definitely do it, but like you sort of regress a tiny little bit, and you go back. Like every time I go home to my house, I'm not 30-year-old me, I'm like 18-year-old me when I'm hanging out with my sister and my mum and stuff. And it kind of plays upon that because this girl is an idiot, but then she's acting really, really young as well. And like her mum is brilliant, like really, really funny.
Really
she has
good.
some really good funny scenes. But it kind of like plays upon that as well, like you having to go back to your house because she's literally stuck in her house. But there's a couple of really, really funny characters. Like I know, like What We Do in the Shadows was one of my favorite films last year, and like Flight of the Conchords. It's that type of humor, which is like it's really silly, but it's really sort of like I don't know, not homegrown, but it's really sort of like it's really, really good.
It's quite broad, but it's quite sweet at
Yeah.
the same time. Have you seen that one?
No, I've not seen that.
So yeah, we won't say any more about that one though, because
Yeah.
there's quite a few like little mysteries to uncover. So
Yeah.
check that out.
Yeah.
But what have you liked this year, horror wise?
So I'm going to actually like tick off another one on my list.
Yeah.
Seeing as we're talking about horror, and that is Spring.
Oh, I haven't seen this yet.
So I think it played at a few festivals in 2014, but it came out in the UK in 2015. Again, I'm not going to go into too much details because, don't want to spoil it, but I've seen a few things about it. It's about a guy who, I think his mother dies, and he leaves America and he goes to Europe and he ends up in Italy. And he's working on a farm, and in this small Italian village, he meets this stunningly beautiful, sexy woman played by Nadia Hilker, who's called Louise. And she's kind of like, she has this dark secret. And without revealing it, but it's slightly Lovecraftian and it's slightly body horror, and it is very striking the way it's shot because it looks beautiful. It looks like almost like a Terrence Malick movie. But when it gets to the horror stuff later on, some amazing practical special effects that look unlike anything I've seen for a long time. Like, there's one scene in particular, and it made me recoil in revulsion, and yet I also rewound it immediately and paused it because I was watching it on Blu-ray to just check out what the hell was going on, and it really freaked me out. But yes, it's a really striking and original horror movie, I think.
Yeah, it's that was on my list as well. Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson, the two guys who wrote and directed it, who I think are real talents, and it's a very slow film, but it really rewards if you stick with it. I think that it's really magical. Actually, I think
some beautiful cinematography. The way they shoot this little Italian village is really stunning, which also makes, when like some of the kind of more horror elements begin to seep in, gives them a new look because they don't really rely on old conventions that much. It kind of looks more interesting. And also the way that they go down these like little Italian streets, kind of like shades of obviously Don't Look Now, with like something terrifying hiding at the end of the street waiting for you.
Yeah.
I really like that film.
Yeah, tonally it's a really unusual film, but I think I've watched it 3 times now. I just think it's absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Really original. No, you're right.
Yeah,
what other horror then did we like?
It Follows, I loved. I thought that was really, really good.
It didn't make it on any of our top 5s, but we're all fans of that one, I think.
Yeah, we all had it in about our top 10s.
Yeah, definitely.
As well.
I felt like it was something really new. I just really, really enjoyed that world. There was so much strange stuff going on, not just the people being followed, but like there was such like really odd bits that kind of just made me feel uneasy. Like we talked about it, like we don't know when they were set. We're trying to figure out like
really
what time
odd
it
use
was.
of technology. Like a lot of it seems period, and yet they got strangely very futuristic technology in some
Yeah.
scenes for the time it appears to be.
Exactly, yeah. And like that kind of stuff really sort of puts you at ease all the way through. But I like that it was, a strange concept that it's kind of like a sexual transmitted disease that, someone's going to follow you and kill you the chain keeps going and going and going. But then because of that, and because the thing that's following people can look like anything, there was a lot of times where he was just normal, so you're afraid of everything, and then what the thing that was following you would just look crazy, and it'd just be like this really strange, like giant in the house, and it kind of could do really, really good things with that, and being like, oh, now we're just gonna have like this monster-looking thing, and I really like that idea.
I really enjoyed the music and the kind of direction.
Yeah.
Obviously, the adept to John Carpenter's work, and I really like the synth soundtrack. Again, putting you on edge. But there's one brilliant shot in the movie where the camera keeps turning full 360 degrees, and you're looking in the background of the shot, and you can see something getting closer and closer, and it really milks it.
Yeah,
like, Halloween's one of my favorite horror movies, and it does a lot, and it achieves a lot by just having someone there looking, inhumanly patient.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what that is. It's like no matter what you do, Michael Myers will get you. And the same with this, really. It's like you can put distance between it, but it's inevitable. The horror is inevitable. And it does a really good job playing with that suspense.
Yeah,
do the rules that the film sets up work? Because I've heard it criticised quite a few places that it kind of loses its way in terms of this is how it works, but then by the time we get to the film, it seems to be a bit of it's not very consistent.
I know what you mean. For something that's like so reliant on it being specific rules, like the way that they decide to try and kill it doesn't make any sense at all. And like the actual intro doesn't, like I only read this the other day. Like I loved it, but I read something about the intro the other day, like the first time you see it, and that doesn't make any sense either. Actually, when you watch it again, but I need to see it for a second time.
Yeah, agreed.
But I really liked it.
How did they try to kill it? Just throw a load of electrical things in a swimming pool?
Essentially, yes.
Right.
Any more on the horror front?
Well, we really like The Gift.
The Gift, I think this is a good
if you
place to
can call
talk
that horror,
about it.
yeah.
I had it on my long list of films of
I
the year.
still haven't seen it.
So it's a Blumhouse production.
Yeah.
It's not quite horror, but it's definitely thriller, and there's a lot of intimidation, so it feels like a very threatening movie.
Yeah.
But it goes some really interesting places, more than I think the poster or the trailer or who's in it would make you initially what you initially think. There's multiple levels to it, and the fact that Joel Edgerton wrote, directed, and starred in that, I want to see what else he's got.
Yeah. It's really nasty in bits, and it changes who you're rooting for all the way through it, right until the very end, because it's got like one of the most horrible sort of climaxes, I think, just because of what it suggests. But at the same time, you're never quite sure if the person, if anyone is evil really, or like really, really bad. Man, it's really, really good. It stays with you for quite a while afterwards as well. But I really like that. I know you really liked it, was The Visit.
Very good.
Yeah.
The Visit. Again, it was a bit of a surprise because there's been some pretty poor M. Night Shyamalan movies the last few years.
Yeah.
I'm always been a big fan of his, but I'd kind of given up hope. And then the trailers were creepy, but you couldn't really get a sense of what it was. And they did a good job of keeping a mystery around it. And I've found it really entertaining and really frightening and really, really good fun. I just thought it was it felt like a really good episode of Tales from the Crypt or something, or Twilight Zone or something like that. And that's kind of what I want from a Shyamalan film. I think Dan and I were agreed that we didn't really like the little boy in it, or that character that he was playing.
Why is he rapping?
But then in the cinema I was in, there were loads of people really laughing at him. So I don't know if
then don't have him doing a massive one on the end credits. The weirdest thing about it is like when he tries to swear and to kind of sublimate his swearing tendencies. He says a female pop star.
Yeah.
But you would not know
Shania Twain.
Kill me now.
Oh god.
You don't know who that is.
Kill me now.
If his main musical influences are rap, why is he saying Shania Twain?
But the teenage girl was very good in it, and obviously the people playing the grandparents are very good.
Wicked director. Her lighting, her 3-point lighting on the interviews are amazing.
Yeah, the grandmother's really terrifying in that.
So good horror films all around.
Yeah. To change gear a little bit then, in my list is the documentary Amy, about Amy Winehouse.
The funny thing is, I've spoken to people about this, I think it's the most powerful horror film of the year. Genuinely, the second half is a horror film.
Yeah.
The first half is a real wonderful celebration.
So good.
And then the second half, when it switches, and it switches really quickly, you are watching a human being die, and that was more frightening to me and upsetting than any horror film I saw.
Yeah, it's horrible. Just to see the way, like as you say, because they've got so much amazing footage of like since when she was a little kid, just messing around her house and doing these little songs, and you sort of realize, you go, God, she was actually even though obviously everyone knows she's really good, you realize like her talent was actually like on some other level that like we can't even understand. And then just you almost forget where it's going because you're like, shit. In the same way as Senna's, like the same people who made that, like you forget, oh, hang on, because it's going to change at some point.
It's like it's because you're enjoying the ride, the way it's shot. You're part of this journey to the top.
Yeah.
That again was meteoric. It happened so fast. This was all in the space of 2 or 3 years. This upward trajectory, and then obviously the downward.
But it's the same director as Senna, isn't it?
Yeah,
and it's the same thing that we talk about horror being like inevitable. It's when you start seeing events conspiring, and you go, maybe if that one didn't, or that one didn't. But altogether, it is just inevitable.
Those guys are really good at coming up with, putting making characters out of all this footage as well. Like, because you've got like a really good love story in there between like Amy and like her first manager, I think, like the guy who's clearly in love with her. And then like you've got bad people who she gets another manager who clearly just doesn't care about her. And then you've obviously got her dad who's just like a pretty evil dude. Like I don't know if you call him evil, I guess you can, but it was really odd because I watched this the first time I watched it. It was kind of like, it wasn't like a premiere, but it was like a secret cinema thing, and it was on the day of my birthday as well, and a lot of the people who were in the documentary were there watching it with me as well. And you can kind of like, I didn't think, because you go in and everyone's kind of like in secret cinema, like people are in character, and it was kind of like a sort of like a 50s like juke joint type thing where people were it's like just welcoming you with trilby hats and things like that and going, oh, you haven't seen you for a while, and it's like kind of like an old-fashioned club. And then the film starts and it's really, really good, but and then obviously what's going to happen and it starts getting bad. And as I'm sitting behind these people who are in this film, watching these people, like watching themselves be part of this story. And it was a really hard thing. Like a lot of them got up and sort of went, and then right at the end of the film, when it finishes, the curtain goes up and there's a band there playing. And I was like, this is being pitched so badly, because like everyone was literally like, it was just silence in the audience, and like they were trying to get like a little sing song going to Valerie, and everyone's just like, what the fuck are you doing? Nobody wants to sing right now. Everyone feels like they hate everything. It's hard.
A lot of tears in that film, in the screening I was in as well. And I mean, I wouldn't say the dad's evil. He's just misguided and maybe a bit greedy. But there's a lot of misguided people in that film, and it's heartbreaking. And I felt like it was a little long, the film. It's over 2 hours. Yeah. But you know what? That's probably because for the second half, I just wanted them to get to her death, because it was so painful to watch. But he wasn't. That's what he's good at. He won't turn his camera away. You're seeing everything. You're seeing a human being just disintegrate in front of your eyes. And so, while I found it hard, painful, like I'm probably glad he did make it that long.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think there's even bits where, I mean, this is the testament to how really good it is. There's even bits where you're watching and you think, oh, this is going to be a happy ending. And you're like, no, it's fucking not. Like, what happens here. But there's a bit where you think, oh, gosh, she's really going to turn around. It seems like she really wants to turn things around. And then everyone else is pulling at it from all these different, like points of her life. And then she goes back down a really, really dark road. And it ends in a really, really dark way, as you can imagine. But it's a brilliant film, like really, really good to watch.
Very good documentary.
Yeah.
Shall I go next?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, okay. I'm starting to mix mine up, and I'm starting to change my mind a little bit. Let's go with Tangerine.
Okay.
Because I saw Tangerine quite recently, and this is a film that was hyped up as being the iPhone movie. Like, people have been talking for a long time now that sooner or later someone's going to make a really good movie on their iPhone. Yeah. And these guys went and did it. And it sounds like a gimmick, but it really isn't. They literally didn't have enough money to hire a camera. They had enough money to hire some sound and buy a rig for the iPhone. Yeah. And that was it. That was all the money they had. They were shooting it guerrilla style. And so the sound is as professional as you can get. Yeah. And they've got this steady thing that they've used with the phone, but the rest of it is literally shot on the iPhone. Yeah. And you wouldn't know for a second. It's so brilliantly, dynamically shot. It's meant he can just kind of race through. And it's the story of a couple of transsexual prostitutes in LA on Christmas Eve. One of them's just got out of prison after being away for a couple of months, and her boyfriend has slept with a white woman. and she is not happy about it. And
Yeah.
so the film is just following her, trying to find this girl and trying to find her boyfriend, basically to mess them up.
Yeah.
Like, she is on the warpath, and it's a thrilling thing to watch. It's so exciting. It's maybe the best action, some of it I've seen this year. Just the way she's storming down the road to this pumping soundtrack, and the camera's kind of rushing towards her and then rushing away.
Yeah.
And the characters are all really funny. The dialogue's hilarious. It's all very real. Like, once these, because it's two white guys that wrote the script and directed it, but once they got these two actors involved who really live this life in real life, or have done, they rewrote a lot of it, and it's just, it feels very real and very, it's just, I wasn't expecting to enjoy a film with that setup.
See, I went in, because I know you like it so much, and I went in really, really, really wanted to enjoy it, but I just hated the main girl, like properly hated her. Like, I just couldn't.
Is that because you're racist or transphobic?
Nope, none of those things. I really wanted to like
not
it.
consciously, but it might be those things.
But I just thought she was a terrible actress, and I was like, I just didn't believe anything that she was saying. I just felt like everything was like really, really staged, and I just couldn't get into it at all. But the music is really, really good, and those scenes where she's walking, they are brilliant. Because it's just like a woman scorned, just like going absolutely bonkers and just raging down these streets.
No drama. She keeps saying, no drama, I ain't going to make no drama.
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
just know, she's going to make some
Is
drama.
it quite festive? I watched this on Christmas Eve with my mum.
It is quite Christmassy. Like, maybe not with your mum, but it's one of those funny, like, twisted Christmas films that I think I will find myself watching at Christmas again.
I really want to see
and it has got quite a good heart as well. Like, it's quite, the humour's quite nasty.
Yeah.
But deep down, it's quite a sweet film, I think.
Yeah.
Right, Croops.
I'm gonna start talking about sci-fi now.
Okay.
Not the one that we'll get to. We're gonna go The Martian first.
Okay.
I really like space films. One of my favourite films growing up was Apollo 13. I used to watch that a ridiculous amount of times with my mum.
Yeah.
And what I love about Apollo 13 is obviously it's real. It's an amazing true story. I came out of The Martian thinking it's a true story, even though I know it's not a true story. Such is the way it's shot and told procedurally.
Yeah.
It just feels like, because there's a great scene in Apollo 13 when they go, we need to get them down from here and we need to fix this thing, and all we've got is the contents of this box.
Yeah.
And Martian has that similar kind of approach. It's almost like a puzzle. It's a conundrum stretched to an entire movie. You've got this guy stuck on this planet. He does not have enough stuff to live for the amount of time that we need to rescue him.
Yeah.
How are we going to do this? And it's just a big puzzle.
Yeah.
And I really like the way that they pursue that with the science, with the rigor. But also, that sounds like a really boring film.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's really entertaining. It's surprisingly light-hearted in places. Matt Damon's performance, he has to carry a movie, a lot of scenes by himself. It's got this disco soundtrack. It's got a good amount of humour to it. I like the Chiwetel Ejiofor scenes on Earth, where he's kind of speaking to this line of text. Yeah. And I just like that kind of succession of problem solving. Yeah. And at the end, it's kind of inspirational as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think in the hands of the wrong hands, it could have been a really, really boring
light
film.
touch to it,
but it's not at all, and like you're completely captivated throughout it all. And I think the supporting characters, they chose really, really good ones, because you've got that other crew as well, sort of deciding what they're going to do. Are they going to go back? Are they going to help him? I don't know. It's just it starts really, really strong, and it just keeps that all the way through. I think at no point was I bored or anything like that. You're just really along to try and you really care as well. Even at bits when you say when it's just characters reading off screens for a while. Like it seems like I don't know that much, guys. I'm not a rocket scientist, as you might think, but
you don't have to be.
It seems like it's kind of a lot really realistic. I guess.
I know the book is hard sci-fi.
Yeah,
it treats it and it approaches like that. It's not,
His dad was a full-on scientist, the guy that wrote it, and then he dabbled. I can't remember if he was a teacher or not, but yeah, definitely he spent a lot of time researching that. And then this, with these films, they involve NASA. I went on the set of The Martian, and they are, because the guys at NASA and the astronauts are people that were inspired by films that Ridley Scott has made.
Yeah, it goes like the circle keeps on going.
Yeah, and so they want to become involved as well and they'll be the ones there first. I remember Duncan Jones screened Moon at NASA because they were desperate to see it, and like that was the most fun screening he had. And I think they were telling Ridley Scott that certain things they designed at NASA was designed to look a bit like props from Alien because they love Alien so much. So
I like that. There we go. So we're going to Mars, and then the space jockey comes out. Yeah. And we're going in this. But you come out with that movie, and you go. It almost has that, because obviously there's lots of discussion whether we should spend public funds on space exploration, whether it's actually a vital human necessity if we're going to survive, global warming and so on. And you come out, and it's like, it's an inspirational movie.
Yeah.
Like, why are we not going to space? Also, for me, the most emotional scene of the year was a man losing a bunch of potatoes.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So the fact that the movie can both do that, be about potatoes, and also inspire human endeavour is pretty good.
And what a cast as well.
Oh, it's unbelievable. A lot of them don't have much to do. But I guess when Ridley Scott comes knocking.
Yeah, I really like Benedict Wong there. He's really, really good. He's just like really funny guy, and like massive. I don't know if he put on the weight for that.
No, he's playing.
Because he's playing Genghis Khan, isn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah,
this dude, you need to be a dude at NASA.
All
right, this is my Jake. Look, it's my Raging Bull.
Can we put this back a year filming? I got some prep.
No, I thought it was really good. What else we got? Chris.
Okay, come to me. Okay. I was changing my mind a few times on this one, but I'm going to go with Steve Jobs.
From tangerines to apples.
Yeah.
I was nearly going to go for A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night.
It's good.
It's a really good film, but Steve Jobs. Good Apple gag.
Thank you.
Love Danny Boyle, huge fan of his,
and
I thought this was a really interesting, unusual approach. Having him direct an Aaron Sorkin script, a very stagey one, he managed to make it really cinematic. I'll be honest, I never really thought that Michael Fassbender was Steve Jobs at any point in the film, but I just like watching Michael Fassbender deliver lines, and I think he's a really interesting, dynamic actor. And even though he doesn't look like Jobs, it sounds like he got the essence of the man.
Yeah. I think when he sticks the glasses on, then I kind of believed it a little bit more. I think it was like more the second act where he looks nothing like him, and he looks like this really beautiful man, because he is a beautiful man. And I just that. But then at no point, I think we talked about this. At no point did I think that mattered at all. Like, because we also saw the program, which is about Lance Armstrong, and Ben Foster really looks like him and really sounds like him. But it doesn't matter if you've got a really good story, really good script.
Even
really
more direct comparison. There's a Steve Jobs movie with a
Yeah.
guy in it who looks a lot like Steve Jobs from that period.
Yeah.
But Fassbender's great at portraying someone who is intense, committed, obsessive,
controlling.
I think it does really get to the heart of the man.
Yeah.
It runs a little long, I think, but I was really gripped from start to finish, and I'm really sad it was such a flop.
Yeah.
And I'm still not sure why. I've heard all different theories on it, and I heard Aaron Sorkin talking about it the other day.
Oh, really? What did he say?
Well, he's not sure himself. I mean, the guy asked him, is it because people just don't really like Steve Jobs? They like the products, but they don't like the man.
Yeah.
And therefore, they're not that interested in seeing his story. Did the trailers put people off? But what happened? Is I remember when the back and forth was, the Sony emails, and Sorkin himself, they had DiCaprio, and then they lost DiCaprio, and they got Fassbender, and he's like, who's going to come see a film starring Michael Fassbender? I don't know who he is. I don't watch his movies.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the problem, that he's not a movie star. He's a really good actor who's not going to open a movie on his own.
So let's talk of Christian Bale at one point as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just seems like a bit of a missed opportunity that film won't get seen on the big screen, because I think it's for something so stagey. They made it really cinematic. And Seth Rogen's the secret weapon in the movie. He's
really
absolutely
good
brilliant in the film. It's really good to see, because it's very rare that guy acts or acts, not a variation on who he is.
I also like that approach to biopic, rather than doing from cradle to grave and
God,
trying to get everything in, and you come away, I know nothing about the person.
Yeah.
I know we did all the major hits, the greatest hits. This is a man in action across 3 moments in his life, and you get some sense of his relationships with people, however kind of convenient a lot of that is and contrived. They're kind of like you say, they're like theatrical contrivances. You go along with them.
And Sorkin, talks about the fact that when he gives in his writing, when he gives the character a speech, in his head he's often imagining that character getting to heaven and talking to God,
right,
and making their case to God. And that's what this film is that there's 3 speeches basically with him making his case to God, pretty much.
Yeah, but I think you're right, Cruz. I think like you learn more. I felt like I learned more about the character than I did on any biopic, where it's just like, this is him being born, this is him going the way through.
What's the Martin Luther King film recently?
Selma
did a similar thing. It was one moment from Martin Luther King's life that shows you something about the man, more than ever like A to Z will ever do.
Yeah, I really, really love Steve Jobs. Like, I think it didn't quite get into my top 10 because of the couple of stinker moments in there. And because there's some real big stinkers in there. I think the bit where it builds up from the start that she keeps having this horrible little tape deck, and right at the end he says, "I'm going to put 10,000 songs in your pocket." Oh, fuck off.
Terrible.
Horrible. Ugh.
Terrible.
Really made me groan. But it's a really, really good film.
So that's lovely to end on that negative note.
Yeah.
What else you got, Gary?
Inherent Vice. I think, to be fair, if Paul Thomas Anderson makes a film of a tramp hitting a bin for 2 hours, I would say that it was the best film of the year. But I did really, really like Inherent Vice. There's just something about it's a really, really good, just silly story told. It kind of like it really harks back to kind of stuff like Big Lebowski and things like that. You really feel like it's that kind of character thing, and these really strange characters keep cropping up as you go along on this like really strange storyline, which you're never quite sure what is going on. Like, I've only seen it all once, and I really need to see it again. But I was kind of along for it, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought, like, Joaquin Phoenix, just watching him for that amount of time just by himself is just awesome. But it's such a good film, I think, and it just looks fantastic as well. It looks really like old school, and I just think you don't really get the opportunity to see films like that because his films don't do very much money, but I guess people just let him go all out on it, and it feels like this was definitely him just doing whatever he wanted.
Their value isn't monetary.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, I probably love it.
It's funny to think that's actually supposed to be one of Thomas Pynchon's most plot-driven novels.
Yeah.
What next? Mason and Dixon. Just 900 pages of just bric-a-brac.
Yeah. But yeah, I just loved it. I felt like all the supporting characters were really, really good. And Joanna Newsom as the sort of narrator was really, really good as well. I like that.
I have not seen it.
So
I've got nothing else to offer.
I wasn't a big fan, but it is something that I will revisit, I'm sure. I don't know, my expectations were too high, and I got a little bit bored. And I didn't really keep up with the plot. I didn't know if I was supposed to be keeping up with the plot or just kind of enjoying the atmosphere. And I just found it all a little bit frustrating, really.
I think you're right. I think like that is definitely, you're just meant to be along for this ride, and you hit the sort of big bits, but he's like this bonkers character, and you can't trust anything that he does or says. And a lot of the time you can't understand the thing that he says. So you kind of just have to go along for this just sort of like crazy little ride that you go on for quite a long time. But I don't know, it's really, really good. Also, Owen Wilson's brilliant in it. Like, one of the best things I've seen Owen Wilson in for ages. And he's fantastic in it.
Yeah, no, lots of Josh Brolin was good. Martin Short was really good. If a bit bonkers.
Yeah. It's just got some really, really funny moments in it, and some really sort of serious, harsh moments in it as well. I really liked it.
It really did seem to split people. I always think that's interesting cinema, when people either love it or hate it.
It happens a lot with his sort of like recent films as well. Like, a lot of people like hated The Master, where a lot of people like said it was like their best film of the year and things like that.
I like The Master.
Yeah, it's really good.
Daniel,
my final one. Again, small indie film, Star Wars: The Force Awakens. We're not going to go into loads. We could do 2 hours just talking about Star Wars and a lot of the talking points. We're going to do that on a different show on Rebel Base. Yeah. So go check that out if you want a big spoilerific chat about The Force Awakens. God, probably the hardest film in the year to like make and satisfy people. Yeah. You know, given what happened with the prequels and what we think of those prequels now, J.J. Abrams, I think, delivered a movie that was very entertaining, satisfying, and also I do think it's like the biggest criticism is it remixes so much of New Hope and what's gone before it. But I would argue that Star Wars isn't in itself very original at all. Yeah. Like, it is, joined together lots of myth, and they get to the point now where it's almost feeding back on its own mythology. But I think it sets up a really interesting next film and the film after it.
Yeah.
And it takes advantage of what was good from its past, kind of throws away stuff that wasn't so good. And I just thought I had the best time in that film this year.
Yeah. It's like a roller coaster. The first time I watched it was like an actual roller coaster where like we were just like
I was so excited to see it, and
yeah.
I'm glad I came out still feeling good afterwards.
Yeah.
And we were all talking about it and like, well, this was a great bit, this was a great bit. I really
Yeah.
like that bit. Maybe the overall plot elements at the end of what they're doing is too similar.
Yeah.
But I think after the prequels giving us so much of stuff we didn't like, this was the movie that we needed right now, just to go, this is what Star Wars is. The people who are making it know what you like.
Yeah.
And we'll maybe take it in some interesting, I hope they take it in some interesting places going forward. But for
Yeah.
this one, it's just like, we're just going to give you a big hit of stuff you like for now.
Yeah.
There were the odd thing that I didn't like the first time I watched it, and then there were a few more things the second time, and I'm worried it's going to be like that, which actually happened to me with the prequels as well, that I came out of them going, oh, that was great, and then just slowly but surely it kind of unraveled a bit for me.
Yeah.
But I think this is a better film than all three of those.
Definitely.
Overall, partly because of the cast and the characters. And I think it wipes the slate clean, like maybe we all wanted, for them to really push ahead. But I feel like my opinion's going to change on this one a few times before I've settled
It's
down.
not settled,
Yeah.
is it? It's still the frenzy surrounding it, the excitement. There's those famous videos on YouTube of people coming out and instantly praising the Phantom Menace and
Yeah.
loving it. I don't think we're in that situation because there were criticisms of Phantom Menace around at the time as well.
Yeah.
I just think it was a very entertaining movie, and I'm really interested to see where they take it.
Yeah, definitely. Chris, what's your last one?
I think we should talk about spy movies.
Okay.
Because this year has been the year of the spy movie. I think there's been
Loads.
7 or 8 of them.
Okay.
And one of them was one of my favourite films of the year, which was Kingsman: The Secret Service.
Yeah, this is in my top 10. So good.
Yeah, it's something we've known about for a while because of, Mark Miller's guest on the podcast a few times. It was his comic. It's a good, fun comic. And then Matthew Vaughn, who collaborated with him on Kick-Ass, and the screenwriter Jane Goldman all got together for this one.
Yeah.
And they seem like a pretty good combination.
So good.
And it was born out of, Mark's very much, wants to make things independently, so he owns, creator-owned stuff. Vaughn agrees with him, and they sat in a pub and said, let's come up with something.
Yeah.
And I think it was called Union Jack originally. And yeah, him and Matthew hammered it out. Mark went and made the comic, Matthew went and made the film, and it's just a blast. I felt like it was to spy movies what Kick-Ass was to superhero movies. Just really good, really fun, subversive, a bit edgy, but hugely entertaining. Like, Matthew just knows how to entertain an audience for a couple of hours.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like, from the start, like, just seeing Colin Firth in that role, like, from the moment that he bolts the door in that pub, I was just like, this is brilliant.
Manners
like
maketh the man.
It's just so good.
You've never seen him do something quite like that.
No,
and then it just gets more and more extreme until it
Yeah.
builds towards the scene in the movie, which
Yeah.
you saw in an editing bay
Yeah,
quite
I've
a
seen
while ago. You came back to me and you were like, bloody hell.
Yeah,
if, they can,
literally.
if they can get this into the movie.
Yeah. I think that the church scene you're talking about, I think it was cut for the actual release from the version that I saw.
Even what gets in them.
Yeah,
What you
it's
must have
pretty
seen.
hardcore.
Jeez. Yeah, it's a really uncompromising, violent scene where the villain in the movie, Samuel L. Jackson, it gives everyone a free SIM card so they can have unlimited data on their phone.
That's right, yeah.
But it also transmits, is it a frequency? And it turns them all very violent.
Yeah.
So he's got to take on a church full of violent individuals.
Yeah.
And the choreography in that is great as well.
Yeah, and Matthew's really good at casting as well. He's kind of helped put Daniel Craig on the map.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence had only done Winter's Bone, and she hadn't even had the Oscar stuff when he cast her in X-Men. He's really good at finding young, interesting actors, and I think Taron Egerton is going to be a huge star. He's really likeable, very charismatic, in kind of a non-threatening way.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's going to be Harrison Ford. He's going to be Han Solo.
I
That's
would not
him.
be averse to that.
Yeah, I think he's one of the only people on the lists that I've seen that I think actually, he can actually
Imagine
nail
going
it.
from Eddie the Eagle to Han Solo.
But that trailer for Eddie the Eagle looks brilliant. He looks like he's actually doing something really good with it. Like, he seems like he's a really, really smart person. Like, in The Craze, like, he does something really good with that tiny character as well. I don't know. I'm just every time he's on screen, he's got this really good charisma about him, and all the way through this, like the first trailer that I saw for Kingsman, I was like, I will never watch that film because I hate just bullshit chav stuff where they're just like, doing this like chav speak and stuff. But I mean, like 5 minutes into that film, you realize there's so much more to it. And I think there's probably the film that I've been the most pleased about enjoying, that I thought I really wasn't going to like. And I really put off watching it for so long, and then was just so pleased that I was wrong about it.
But I didn't like the joke at the end.
That was terrible, yeah. Also, I didn't like Samuel L. Jackson either.
No, agreed, actually.
Yeah.
I think I reviewed it for the site.
Yeah.
That Lisp thing, which was his idea, no one else's idea.
Are you doing
it
that?
Just doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
It's our point where
I honestly think that Matthew was probably too scared to say no
Yeah.
to him. So, yeah, okay.
yeah, well, we could do a few like that, and
Yeah.
a few without.
Does
We're not doing them
new-
without. Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't new work. But if you can get beyond those two things...
Yes. And it's really easy to get beyond this.
But yeah, there were a few other spy movies that came out this year. I think we had a really good Mission Impossible.
Yeah, Rogue Nation. I reviewed that.
You
and
reviewed
I think I do really like that movie. I think maybe there's some bits I didn't really like in it. My reviews I think scored slightly lower than somewhere elsewhere,
Yeah.
but I still overall thought it was a really enjoyable movie.
Yeah.
I think I was just looking at it. I really like Ghost Protocol.
Yeah.
And thought it was going to capitalize on this new look team.
Yeah.
And then it kind of threw all that stuff away in the opening of the movie, and it was literally Tom Cruise against the world again, and hiring new people.
Yeah.
But the action sequences are brilliant in it.
Yeah.
And we'll come on to Spectre in a minute, because I was really disappointed with that movie.
Yeah.
But I feel in the Craig era of Bond has become very serious and self-important. Mission Impossible has really thrived because there's been this like hole in the market
Yeah.
just to do ridiculous action and have fun with it. And that's what Ethan Hunt is doing now. And there's a real kind of joy to the Mission Impossible sequences. I think the Bond ones have got a bit serious with the Mendes films recently.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think Bridge of Spies is my favorite, other than Kingsman. I think Bridge of Spies is up there because I think it's Steven Spielberg doing a really like small little drama with Tom Hanks, and it's just like, how can that ever go wrong?
It's quite an old-fashioned film as well. Like
The Terminal.
I like The Terminal. Yeah,
a little bit different than that.
Very different.
Went a bit
But
wrong.
there's a lot of. It's a lot of kind of the Cold War drama, a lot of
Yeah.
tension, people speaking in code, people meeting in big overcoats in Eastern European cities. Like, it's a really brilliantly well-made film, and the story is true and powerful.
That was the thing. So as soon as I came out of it, so basically they recruit this insurance lawyer to start talking to like spies and things like that. Because you start looking at the things that he did afterwards as well. He carried on doing that stuff. They were just like, this is
like
really
change of
good.
career for him.
Yeah, like that could be a really good sequel because I think he's involved in like the Cuba stuff then as well. They sent him down there.
It's a trilogy. Ooh.
There was Spy, the Melissa McCarthy film, which I know Gav loved.
Big fan of that.
I really enjoyed Spy. I thought it was funny. It's a bit too long.
I like Statham in it. Statham is brilliant in it.
Statham's really funny in it. Isn't there another bloke who's funny in it? Oh, Jude Law's quite funny in it, sending himself up a little bit.
Is Sarah Finovich in that? Seen that one?
He
Yeah, he
is.
is, yeah.
Yeah, he is. He's a bit over the top, actually. I
He's
think.
ridiculous. But, yeah.
It's very broad humour, but the action's okay. I just thought it was a very likeable film.
Yeah.
Gav did not.
Didn't like
We have Mordecai.
God,
That's on Netflix now.
is it?
Yeah, check that out over
I haven't
Christmas.
seen that.
I mean, I've said it on here before. I'm not the world's biggest Johnny Depp fan. I haven't been for about 20 years. So it's not since Ed Wood, I think, is the last thing I really liked him in.
Okay.
And the first Pirates was okay. Yeah, this is not the film for me, so I haven't seen it, so I can't pass judgment.
Yeah,
I don't think we gave it a very positive review.
Yeah, I don't think anyone did.
I think you can go out on a limb on this one.
Yeah, can I? Spooks came out this year.
Oh God.
MI5, not 9 to 5.
Oh God.
You know what? I think I reviewed that for us. I mean, they're trying. They've got such a shoestring budget.
It's not a film.
It's a TV movie. It's Kit Harington isn't really a movie star, I don't think. His hair is not what I would associate with a spy's hair.
Spy wouldn't get away with that.
It's just rubbish.
We had a real problem with his hair, didn't
But
we?
also, like, we talked about this, is the main action sequence in that movie. There's two, actually. There's a man jumping off a very small bridge.
Yeah.
And then the other one is him trying to get from Terminal 1 to Terminal 3.
Yeah. There was a really
Which is a nightmare. I
Yeah.
will not, let's not feel the bad. It's a nightmare. But
when we had him on the podcast, it was a really awkward moment because
Yeah, because you said that to him.
Yeah, because I said, I could really empathise with you because I've had to get from Terminal 1 to Terminal 2 before, and it was really hard work. And he was like, yeah, was it? Yeah. All right, well, I've pitched this wrong. So, and then you pointed out that he's wearing the exact same clothes as the poster we had him on the telly.
He's like, yeah, should I take this off? I was like, well, no, you dress yourself.
I think it's a better film if you're a fan of the TV show. I think it has a bit more emotional resonance with what happens to some of the characters.
Yeah, the dude. I don't really know the show that
Yeah,
well, so a lot of
people-
it falls flat for me.
Yeah, so
But when was the show on telly? Like, that seems like it should have been out. If it was going to come out as
Yeah.
a film, it should have come out
it's
ages
a bit
ago.
after the fact. So it was just forgettable. But it wasn't a disaster. It just wasn't for us.
Yeah.
And then finally, the biggest one of the year.
Da, da, da. Spectre.
What was that?
I don't know. I thought
What a
everyone.
countdown
I
theme.
thought everyone was be fine, and then I looked up and you were both looking at me.
Oh, I was trying
I
to see
feel
what you were gonna
self-conscious
do.
now.
Spectre, the new Bond. I reviewed that one for the site. I had to review that one in about 6 hours. So with a bit of distance, actually, I'm pretty happy with what I said about it. Just a bit disappointing after the last one. It didn't live up to the standards of the previous Bond
I
film.
thought Skyfall was phenomenal. I really love that
For
movie.
all its problems, Skyfall was a great Bond movie.
Yeah.
And this one, it just... I don't know what it was. It didn't quite... I think maybe the script... I think they started the movie before the script was finished. And I just think that all the
That's
problem is
never
in that
good, is
script.
it?
Well, it happens a lot, though.
Yeah.
More often than you'd imagine. And it can be sorted out. I'm pretty sure Skyfall was the same, actually.
yeah.
But it just didn't... There was too much of it didn't work.
Yeah.
It's so strange. Like Skyfall was it the 50th anniversary of Bond? And it trod this really fine line between nostalgia and doing original stuff. And I've written a piece on the site kind of taking stock of all of Craig's movies. And they've done something really weird with him, where it was pitched initially as a reboot. And the very first scene we saw was him getting his 007 license. Everything's been reset. And over the 4 films, I think they've wanted to take that character on some kind of journey.
Yeah.
You know, he loses Vesper, and I think they retrospectively made that more important for the character and more haunting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they still want him to be James Bond.
Yeah.
Which is totally against that sort of stuff. So what you get is him caught in the middle of being like really mournful and troubled by these people he's losing, and yet also doing 7 costume changes and sleeping with loads of women and doing all this stuff. By the time you get to Spectre, they have to like scratch out an entire movie pretty much to make it make any sense.
Yeah.
And also bring Blofeld in. The whole point of the reboot is almost like the Star Trek thing. It's like, go off, have new adventures, create new stuff. Second movie, they did Khan. The 4th movie here, they've done Blofeld yet again.
Yeah.
I just feel like either commit into doing classic Bond stuff or be brave and like create new villains.
Yeah, like the Blofeld thing is completely unnecessary as well, because they've set up this really cool villain, like from his like past and from his childhood.
it could have been
It's really, really good. And then like the way it is, I don't go by that anymore. I go by Blofeld. Oh, do you? All right, brilliant.
I think
That's it.
I think it undermines both things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It does not work. To try and build up to that moment that has no effect on the lead character because he doesn't know who Blofeld is. It's the same with Star Trek though. He doesn't know who Khan is. This means nothing.
It plays to
in
the
context.
audience, but not even that much of the audience. I don't think. So I saw it with my girlfriend. What's this about?
Yeah, who's Blofeld?
This guy's a bit sad, isn't he? He's like, he's got his dad taken away from him. He's just done all this in private.
So
Yeah.
it was
Why's he got a
just
cat?
it was just an okay Bond movie,
Yeah.
and it's a bit disappointing when it's potentially Craig Swan's song and Sam Mendes directing. I was hoping it was going to be a 5-star Bond movie. you know? But hey ho.
It's the end.
Is that us through all our choices?
Last one is a film that I saw by accident. I was meant to go see The Voices and went into the wrong screening room. So I went to see Force Majeure, which it's just like, it's really hard to go see a film where you know nothing about, particularly, and it's even harder to go see a film where you think it's going to be something else completely. And this is just a really, really good surprise. And it's just a really amazing character study of like masculinity and how just a tiny bit of threat on that can just spiral out of control massively. And a lot of it is just conversations between people. It's like, it's really, really awkward conversations. Like, it's one of the most awkward scenes of the year. So it's like,
I think you should give the setup, Gav, because it's a fun.
Oh, yeah,
setup.
actually, yeah, that's a good point. So basically, you should definitely watch it. And this happens really
It's on
early into the
Netflix
film.
now as well,
It's on
so you can watch
Netflix,
it
yeah.
at Christmas.
But as a family are on holiday in the Alps, and it's really funny how it happens as well.
Yeah.
They're sort of watching in the background as a avalanche happens, and they're like, "Oh, that's getting a bit close." And an avalanche like hits where they're having breakfast, and they're all covered in snow and everything. But just at the last minute, as the avalanche is about to hit, the dad runs away and leaves 2 kids and the wife like hiding. Like you see him just run out of shot.
Yeah, whereas she's like, she goes to protect the kids.
Yeah.
He legs it.
He legs it. And when you're watching it, you're thinking, it doesn't really register with you at first. And then you go, and then when they're shouting for him, and they're like, where is he? And then he just sort of strolls back into the scene, because it's one cut-off scene, one locked-off shot. And you're like, it doesn't really register with you. And then basically later on in the night, then she says that I think it only comes out while they're with this other couple around dinner. And they said, oh, well, she says, oh, yeah, but he didn't know because he run off. And he has a complete, whether he believes it or not, he's like, that's not how I remember it. She remembers it one way, which is the way that it actually happened, and you see it. Yeah. And he remembers it a completely different way, and he doesn't remember that happening at all. But this tiny little thing, like, has this like horrible spark in the relationship, and just like is the basic catalyst for the entire film. Then, and they meet another couple, and that couple is kind of, she brings it up again. It's really hard to watch, and
it's
it has
very awkward.
Yeah, it's really, really awkward scenes, but. It's a good
movie. It's
brilliant,
a very good movie, and it does have you putting yourself in that position.
100%, yeah.
I'd like to think I would protect the kids, but I don't have kids, so I don't know. But part of me is like, would I run off?
Yeah. But then also, if I run off, would I just admit to him, be like, look, that was a shit thing to do. Yeah. I didn't know what was happening. It's fight or flight, and unfortunately, I run away. But then...
It's just not that important to me.
But it's the fact that the guy just won't admit it, because obviously, he feels so bad about what he's done. But yeah, what a brilliant film.
Really interesting.
Good film to watch over Christmas.
Yeah.
Snow.
What would you do? Conversation starter.
Yeah, exactly.
Unusual film.
But yeah. So shall we talk about our biggest disappointments?
Yeah, let's go negative now.
Okay.
I think you should take my one.
Okay.
And then I'll take another one.
Gotcha.
Gav, you do yours first.
I have a doubler.
Well, that's not allowed. That's not part of the rules.
I'm doing it. Trainwreck or The Walk, because I almost walked out of both.
Pick one.
Trainwreck then.
Okay.
Because I've talked about it on this podcast before, so I won't.
Yeah, and we've even had emails saying, "Can you stop slagging off Trainwreck everywhere?" I don't know if you've seen this.
Gav's on this week.
People are literally writing in saying, "Why can't you just leave Trainwreck alone?
Really?
It's all right." Yeah, we did have an email
from the director of Trainwreck.
All right, maybe I should talk about The Walk then.
Actually, maybe you're right.
Yeah,
because we have slagged it off. Okay, but we know your feelings on Trainwreck.
Okay, yeah. But The Walk, Daniel and I saw this at like a press screening, and a lot of the time we were just looking at each other going, I cannot believe this is in a film in 2015. There's a bit where, so it's basically about what's the guy's name? Philippe Petit, yeah. The guy for an amazing documentary called Man on Wire, who like put a wire down and walked between the Twin Towers. It's really it's basically about that film. So it's kind of like half a heist film, half a romance film, half a biopic. And none of it, and like 3 halves, yeah. None of it works. None of it works at all. Like maybe the last bit, because we saw it in 3D.
We should say, quite well reviewed elsewhere.
Yeah.
I'm totally on board with you. I think just the tone's slightly off, but also because I know Man on Wire is such a great documentary.
Yeah.
I think it tells that story so well with the people involved. And it's really hard with Joseph Gordon-Levitt playing that role, because when you see footage of the guy is an unrealistic man.
Yeah.
He almost shouldn't exist in reality. He's so crazy and big and has such a enthusiasm for life that no actor can get close to that, because he's like truly unique.
I'll tell you an actor I'd like to have seen play the role, a young Vincent Cassel.
Yeah.
Because he, that when he was in that Ocean's 13, he gives that really weird performance.
With a spark in his eye.
And,
There's some weird scenes where this like in France where he goes, "Oh, you do it better." What does he say to the girl when he chats her up?
So yeah, this is like the love bit of it, basically, where like he meets this girl that he falls in love with, and like they're in Paris, like you can tell they're in France. They don't need this, and he just goes to her, "Would you like to come out for some wine later on?" Like it's just like they just heap these stereotypes onto it.
Pepe Le Pew.
And it's exactly like that.
Where shall I put down my wire?
Yeah. It's just awful. Like, oh man, just terrible. But then it leads up to this amazing sort of sequence. And I guess if you saw, like we saw it at the IMAX Leicester Square, which is one of our favourite sort of screens. We saw it in like IMAX 3D, and having him walk across the wire.
The tech is cool.
I mean, there's a very obvious solution to this, as far as I'm concerned, is someone cuts the walk.
Yeah.
The actual walk into the documentary, because obviously they never had any footage at the time of the walk, and that's what's missing from the documentary, which is a cool, like, makes it kind of more mysterious, but there's only the odd still photo. But so you could put that walk in the middle of the film.
Yeah.
How would that be?
Well, something even better that they're doing.
My idea.
Yes, way better. But that's a good idea. But Sony's VR headset is going to come with this, like, you're going to be able to get this game or sort of experience called The Walk. And it's basically, you put the VR headset on and it's you doing the actual walk.
I mean, that's definitely something I never want to do in my life. So that doesn't sound
Through the
bad.
middle of the film, please put on headset and proceed
do
to be
this
sick
walk.
all over your living room
yeah.
floor.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really hard. And then had to go and interview Robert Zemeckis about it as well. When all I wanted to talk about Back to the Future, I'm just asking him, just like, why did you think this story needed to be told, even though it was told in the documentary? And which is maybe not a good opening gambit, but he was like, it's such a good story, and he plays him so well. I was like, yeah, but he doesn't play him better than the real dude, does he? But there we are.
All right, I'm going to go for Chappie as my disappointment, just because I'm sure we all are such a big District 9 fan, and then Elysium didn't really work. Like, good ideas, but for some reason it just didn't all hold together. And then Chappie was that much worse. I'm starting to fear that District 9 was a fluke, and obviously his Alien movie that he was going to do has been put on hold.
Yeah.
You know, we had him again on the podcast. Really lovely, really smart, really intelligent guy. But it just, I don't know, it was. I found it quite painful to watch. I found that the robot annoying. I found all the characters were annoying.
Yeah.
I think he made a real mistake casting Dee Antwoord, or however you pronounce it. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong.
Yeah.
And then letting them pretty much play themselves. Hugh Jackman's role was just awful. I thought he acted it badly, but it was just such an unbelievable over-the-top character.
Yeah.
And it started off with a really interesting concept and then went nowhere interesting with it. It became a very by-the-numbers action film by the end. And doing stuff that we've seen him do better in Elysium and District 9 in terms of a bloody bloke in a mech suit again.
That's the thing, I think, more with his films. Like, if you take out the fact that it is him and it's the District 9 guy, the films could be like straight to DVD stuff, I think. Like Elysium, it seems like the more money he's given and the more like opportunity he's given to do something big with it, it feels like he should just strip it all back and go back to sort of like District 9, because District 9 is so good. And because it's like controlled by this tiny budget that they had, and it's like it had to be like quite a small story.
But
then, yeah, I don't know. It didn't really work for me either.
He needs to make District 10.
Yeah, that'd be really good.
Kroops?
Fantastic Four.
I haven't seen this.
Fantastic Four. I do think disappointment is a good epithet for this, because they hired a really interesting young filmmaker who made Chronicle, Josh Trank. And the way he taught this movie up in pre-production was great. It sounded brilliant. He said he was going to make a sci-fi movie. It was going to be like a horror movie. It was going to be inspired by David Cronenberg. So there's people going through these cosmic transformations, but actually depict it in a really harrowing body horror style way.
Yeah.
That's a really different way of doing that movie after the two Fantastic Four movies we got, which were quite campy. And lots of things went wrong on set, it seems. Like, we've heard different things, different sides. I'm sure the movie was heading one direction, the studio interceded, and if you go and watch the movie, I do think there's a fault line down the middle of it, or maybe not directly in the middle. There's a scene where I think two movies are welded together, and it is a bad movie, but also it's interesting to watch it because it's also a broken movie.
Yeah.
You can see where they've tried to rescue it and salvage it. Where things in the movie don't line up with what we were told about the movie. We got told that Toby Kebbell's character was going to be called Victor Domashev, and he was going to be a hacker. You see the movie and he's called Doom, but you never see people's lips move when they say he's called Doom. It's all done in VO to try and fudge it. You see his name written down. So it's this really weird, broken movie. And it's kind of fascinating to watch because as many times you get like a Transformer movie and you think that's really bad, I do think that's made the way that Michael Bay wanted it to appear. Whereas
he has control over it,
something's gone wrong here. And with such a high-profile property that could potentially be so lucrative, it's kind of interesting to see it go off the rails like that. And, you know, they've taken the sequel off their future schedules, and I guess we're not going to get another Fantastic Four movie for a bit.
Yeah, we talked about it at length on the Superhero Show, and you can go and check out Dan and I going on for a long time about it. But, looking back, I think they cast it really well with really interesting young actors. But I think the mistake they made is having them be young. I think they're Marvel's first family. Have them at the age they should be. He was supposed to be JFK, Reed Richards. Have him that age.
Yeah.
And have that family dynamic right from the word go. It just...
That's one of the biggest misses. They're not a family.
No.
It's one of the few things that differentiates that property from a bunch of... From X-Men even. Just a bunch of young kids with powers.
They lost sight of what makes it work. They try to do something different. You know, the stuff we were excited about, the sci-fi, the body horror and stuff, maybe they should have just created new characters and gone in their own direction.
You should have trying, if you want to do that movie.
Yeah, it was square peg in a round hole by trying to...
I think on paper it sounds really cool. Like, actually, that was a really brave thing for us to do.
And the trailers were good.
Yeah.
The first trailer, the tone of it was like, oh, that's interesting. This is dark.
Again, it's fascinating. The later trailers and later poster treatments, you've got scenes of, like, New York in peril. They never go back to New York. Like there's no big action sequence at the end of the movie. There's literally scenes you can see at the end of the movie where you can tell they got Miles Teller into a green screen for a couple of days to do pickups. Because it just looks like he's in front of a green screen.
Yeah. The story around it and the fallout was more entertaining than the film itself.
Yeah. Hopefully, there's a great documentary one day.
It's very sad that, one of the most exciting things of the year was seeing what Josh Trank was going to say or do next.
Yeah. That is sad. So let's finish on a high note then. What are you most excited that you've seen that's coming out in 2016 or just most excited about?
Yeah, so we've done a whole, next week there's a whole show going up looking forward to next year's films. But in terms of what I've seen, and I've seen the most because obviously I've attended some film festivals this year, Green Room is the one I've mentioned before, so I won't go into too much detail, but it's really good. It's the guys that did Blue Ruin. It stars Anton Yelchin and Patrick Stewart. It's basically a siege movie, and it is punks v Nazi skinheads. And it's nasty and it's fun. It's got a kick-ass soundtrack. It feels like a punk movie. You know, a movie made by punks it's just really kind of edgy and nasty, and you really kind of care. The violence feels very real in this film. Yeah. And, it's fun watching Patrick Stewart play evil as well.
I can't wait to see that,
I love that film and I cannot wait to see it again. So, that's that.
I saw Spotlight, which is probably the best film I've seen this year.
And that's already come out in the States, hasn't it?
It's already come out in the States, but it comes out early next year. And it's like a story about a newspaper team who get a lot of time to sort of go really deep into a story, and they pick a story about paedophilia and the Catholic Church. And it's a really, really hard watch, but at no point is it kind of, do you feel like it's done over the top? It's a really, really good team of people like John Slattery, Rachel McAdams. Liev Schreiber's really good in it. When was the last time Liev Schreiber was good in anything? Like, it's a really, really...
Scream 3.
It's a really, really good sort of team that they've got. And I just loved it. I just loved everything about it. It felt like The Wire. It felt really intricate. It never felt like it was playing anything to like sort of tug at your heartstrings or anything like that. And it could easily have done that. And yeah, I reckon it's going to absolutely clean up.
Cool cast as well.
Really, really amazing cast, yeah. But I loved it. It was really good.
Daniel, what are you
honestly, nothing else coming out next year. But the movie I'm excited about and most intrigued about, even though there's loads of huge movies next year, including a new Star Wars movie and Civil War, it's Assassin's Creed. Because I think if that does well, then we're going to get a lot of good adaptations coming. I think because... traditionally, obviously, video game adaptations aren't all that good because traditionally a lot of not very talented people have been involved. They've kind of just, they've not had the best directors or the best actors involved with them, or they've been adapted from properties that don't lend themselves to narrative-driven films, like Street Fighter. Narrative is incidental to that as a gaming experience. Therefore, not good source material for a movie. Same with Mario. No story in Mario. Don't make a story out of it. Whereas what Assassin's Creed has is a really great sci-fi premise. And they've got a brilliant lead actor to play the main assassin in Michael Fassbender. A really artistic director in Justin Kurzel. So they'll make a well-acted, good-looking movie, I have no doubt. Hopefully they found a story to tell. Because I think the premise is really cool. If they can get this could be like a new Matrix. And I'm really excited to see how that movie's received, because I think if it does well, we're going to get a lot of really big budget video game adaptations.
If it does well, we're going to get a lot more Assassin's Creed films, let's be honest. They chunk out a game every single year, so it's going to be more films.
I think it's telling that Fassbender got involved with the film not because he's a fan of the game, but because he's a fan of the concept and
I think that's the right way to
script
approach
he's putting together. So I think that's a good sign.
I think for too long they've gone, this game is popular, let's turn it into a movie. No, there's some games out there that have really good stories, just like books with really good stories make good movies. Unsurprisingly, some games with strong stories can make amazing movies. And I think we're on the cusp of that because the last few years, games have matured as a storytelling medium. So therefore, I think there's better candidates for adaptation.
Well, between that and Warcraft, it's a really big year for video game movies, and they're both in the hands of directors who know what they're doing. So it'll be very interesting to see. We could have 2 failures on our hands yet again, or we could have 2 hits. Let's hope for the former.
Yeah.
The latter, even.
Latter.
And on that bombshell, thank you for listening, and thank you for listening all year. If you want to write and tell us what your favourite films of the year have been, or tell Gav how wrong he's been about Trainwreck, the email is
IGN_UK feedback at IGN.com.
And yeah, thanks for listening and watching, and keep it tuned to IGN for all your podcast and film and game and TV and comics needs.